seen a mind?
I can think.
Huh?
I can
Yeah.
think.
Well, that's a symptom of the mind. Has anyone ever seen one?
I've seen the human brain cut open.
The brain, though, is not the mind. Sometimes people have been, supposedly brain dead, but then they remember everything. Anyway, the mind is an interesting thing. It's a phenomenon. And the purpose of it is thinking, feeling, and willing. So, like, who was it? Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. Right? And I guess that's one way to look at it. So, the mind, there's enemies that attack our minds, and everyone has the same enemies. And they're described in Bhagavad-Gita. Krishna says, lust, anger, and greed, 3 gates leading to hell. And those are 3 of the enemies of the mind, and then there's envy, and illusion, and insanity. So we'll just take a look at those things. So Bhagavad-Gita, that's Krishna and Arjuna. If we look now, we'd think, well, a chariot and bows and arrows, that's really primitive, But it wasn't. It was much more advanced than any modern weaponry. Because the arrows had mantras. So just shoot the arrow and put some mantra, and that arrow would become all kinds of different weapons. Now it's all done mechanically. And there's Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He's the one who brought all this out of the Sanskrit language. So, mind control. These are some Bhagavad-Gita verses, so you can see them up there. And we always, hope everybody will read Bhagavad-Gita regularly. Everything is there. It's Krishna himself, it's the word of Krishna. And sometimes they say I read it, but I didn't understand it. But that's all right. You can understand. Nobody can understand Krishna. But you can associate. You can relish it. Just like if you hear a beautiful concert, you don't understand it, or a beautiful work of art, you just like it, You can relish it, you can get benefit from it. It's not that you have to understand exactly how the artist put all the colors in there, right? Or all the music. You don't have to understand. Most of the musicians in the big orchestra, they don't even understand it. They just play what they're supposed to play. Somebody else puts it all together. So, Udare Atmanatmana Antatandam Vishodaye. It doesn't come out right. Font. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. We can utilize our mind. We can think about whatever we want. As human beings, we have a lot of freedom. So if we think about crime, if we think about, going out and making trouble, blowing up countries, then the mind is our enemy. It becomes our enemy. It's dragging us into dangerous territory. And if we think about good things, and the topmost is to think about God, think about spiritual life, then it's our best friend. We have a choice, because the intelligence is above the mind. Right? You understand? The mind is directed by the intelligence. It's supposed to be. If the intelligence is weak, then the mind drags the intelligence here and there and misuses it for unsavory things. Bandhur atma manastasya yena maiva jita. Atma manas shatchutve Heartache by the Shatru. But this is from chapter 6. Chapter 6 is mostly about the mind. And it's a very advanced psychological treatise, actually, how the mind is working. And you know, everyone knows you have to control your mind. Sports teams now have a sports psychiatrist or psychologist. And, you know, they figure training the mind is just as important as training the body, if not more. You know, because the mind, like the intelligence directs the mind controls the body. If you think really carefully about something, then the body will do it. So for one who has conquered the mind, it's his best friend. And conquered the mind. What somebody saying last week, and beating it with shoes, and that was a Sunday feast. And for one who has failed to conquer the mind, it can be the greatest enemy, because it can just tell you, no, go, you know, there's nothing wrong with going in a prostitute house, there's nothing wrong with getting drunk, come on, everybody's doing it. Don't be strange, don't be different. You know, the mind will constantly, you know, tell you things. So to conquer it means you're getting better advice from somebody. The intelligence is very close to the soul, and that can be coming from any scripture, actually. So what's inside comes out. Bhagavad-Gita, another verse. Controlled mind is a prerequisite to peace. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, and he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Now that's an interesting thing. How many have been reading Bhagavad-Gita? All of you? So you might have noticed that many times this comes up. Equal and hot and cold, happiness and distress, honor and dishonor, victory and defeat, remain equal. So that's what's saying here. Then you can be peaceful, because they're all temporary. All these things are temporary. So the person has some bigger, broader vision. He doesn't get all excited about them, because he knows they're just going to change. All things must pass was George Harrison's title. He had one song. It went over very big. Remain fixed. Ultimately, is your understanding the soul, your understanding the higher control, the eternal nature of everything. So, like now it's cold, but we can't get just sit around and complain about it. We just have to get warmer clothes and carry on. And it's going to be too hot pretty soon. Going to complain about that also, right? So it just comes and goes, and everything is like that. So that you do what you have to do, but not that it becomes your life and your all in all. Then one can be peaceful then. So this is some of the things are called dualities, opposite things. Hot and cold, the main one. Happiness and distress. The other ones are all fixed on, I think this will make me happy, so I want it. I think this will make me unhappy, so I don't want it. Right? I want to win, that'll make me happy. I want to have money, that'll make me happy. I want to be healthy, you know. But they're all there. Health and sickness is always there. Victory and defeat. Was that Michael Jordan? Somebody was glorifying him, you know, he said so many records. And he just said he had exactly the statistics of how many ones he missed. You know, it's no big deal. He said, I missed so many shots that would have won the game, I missed it. So many this and that. So he had a steady mind. You know, if someone's a basketball and they make a basket, they can't just get all excited, oh, I made a basket, you know. They have to keep playing, otherwise the other team will knock them out. You can't get all depressed if they miss it, because they have to keep going. So that's basically what it's all about. whole life like that, everything we do. There's just a series of verses in chapter 6. We always recommend chapter 6 of the Bhagavad-Gita because we're all, the mind is, in this nowadays, mental disease is the most prominent disease, and stress is the big one now. Stress and loneliness, it's all mental stuff, It has to be dealt with. You can't fix it with a pill. You can dull it for a short time with some pill, but you can't stop the mind from whatever it's stuck on. So you have to get unstuck and get out of the mantra, like that you chant mantra. Man means mind. Tra means deliverance. It's to deliver the mind, to get it out from the prison house where you're keeping it in. The person is, somebody want to read that?
A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same.
That's another one that's confusing sometimes. Is he so stupid he doesn't take some pebbles and try to trade it off at the bank or something? But he just sees it all as Krishna's energy, but they use it according to what it's can be used for. Gold is definitely different than pebbles or stones, but gold is stones, and for some people gold would have no value to them at all. They'd say, what's the use of it? If you're jungle people or something, can't eat it, can't make a weapon, arrowhead out of it or anything. But other people are killing each other and have wars over gold. In the heavenly planets, the gold is just laying around and they just pick it up and make decorations. Nobody thinks anything about it. So, but it's all just material energy, and you utilize everything according to what it's meant to be used for. Not that you try to make a hammer out of gold or something. It wouldn't work. Who wants to read this one?
A person is considered still further
Yeah,
advanced.
if you do it loud, really loud.
A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind.
Yeah, that's enough. So that's advanced. But all these things are going on, and a very spiritually advanced person just thinks, well, this is my karma, that this is happening. That, we have all these types of people are there. But if we start loving one and hating another and all that, we'll be in trouble. But we have to also see the difference. If a tiger in the jungle, you don't treat it the same as you treat your cat at home. But at the same time, they're not that much different. All right, who wants to understand their mind? Anybody? Okay. What is the mind? Who can say? Kind of started out with that question, but anybody can say? Somebody gave, you said, because I'm thinking, I know I have one. It's thinking, it's perceiving, it's remembering things, but it's not, it's subtle. It has nothing that we can measure with any kind of instrument. It has no size. Your mind can be on the moon in a second, right? It's not just in the brain, The brain doesn't produce the mind. The mind is a separate thing. It comes with the soul. It's thinking, feeling, and willing. You think about something, then you want to do something, and then you do it. Thinking, feeling, and it has conceptions of life. What else?
Generally absorbed in future and past.
Now, I see these things popping up all the time on the internet now. You know, be here now, be in the, you know, and
Present moment.
yeah, because everything you're lamenting is already gone, you can't change it. Whatever you're afraid of is in the future. So, you know, and whatever we do now is creating our future. That's karma. So our previous activities have created whatever situation we're in now, and then, so don't be too hung up about it. We have to make plans and, you know, but that's what we do now will make a difference what's going to happen in the future. If we're just worried, and some people get so worried they can't function nowadays, so many. They're just thinking, if I do this, maybe somebody won't like it, maybe I won't, maybe I'll fail, maybe I'll win, and they're just stuck. Just do it. It's full of desires and thoughts, especially desires. You know, desires are, you cannot, some Buddhist or other they say you have to become desireless. We say that also, but not that you're just zero, no desires. Can't, it's impossible. The soul actually only can desire, and then all things get arranged according to our desires. So we're born here, of course, we have desires, we don't remember, we may not think, I never wanted this, but we have these desires. So if we desire good things, we'll get good things. Sometimes it takes a while because we have a lot of previous desires, getting the reactions. You know, I wanted this when you're a kid, you want that, and then you change. So this picture, everyone has seen this, we said in the Bhagavad-Gita.
Those desires are the soul, you said, right? They're the soul's desires?
Yeah. Well, the horses are what?
The senses.
The senses. What are the senses?
Palate, the experience. The user experience, the taste, sound, smell.
Yeah, the eyes, ears, nose.
The reverberation.
So there's five main senses that drag us around. And then the
Reins.
reins is what? Remember what it says?
I remember from a couple of weeks ago.
The mind.
The mind, yeah. So the mind is, the senses can't work without the mind. The mind is, it used to be called the common sense. You know, it's because it's in every, without the mind, the other senses don't function. So, and then the driver,
Intelligence?
Did you say?
Intelligence?
The intelligence.
intelligence, supposed to be controlling the mind. And then that controls the senses, so you go where you want to go. Otherwise, you probably all seen the old, when I was a kid, all the movies were the Western, you know, with the horses and runaway stagecoaches. So when, if the driver gets killed or something, then the horses just take off. And they're trying to go who knows where. So that's what happens. If the intelligence is weak, then the mind is not controlling the senses, drag the mind then down to, you know, all kinds of, and then who's sitting in the back?
Soul.
The soul. So in this picture, there's a little bit panic because the senses are running wild. And we don't want to let our senses run wild. And there's an example of a man, he has 5 wives. And he comes home and one is like, I want to go to a restaurant and enjoy nice tasting food. And the other one says, no, I want to go to the movie and watch the movies. And they're dragging him and he can't satisfy all these different directions. So they'll drive, but if they're controlled, then we can use them to do the right thing, to look at the right things and smell, read the right books and hear the right music and, all that. And we have to, the intelligence has to learn what's good for you.
Are those in alignment with the soul's desires?
Well, ultimately, the soul's desire is, we get, it should be, that's what happens if we get lined up. By taking guidance from, we said Krishna, from the scriptures, then the intelligence can guide the mind to guide the senses to do what's good for us. Otherwise, they drag us around. So you see so many people just running, just to get a cigarette or, get anything satisfied in some sense. Okay? Is our mind controlled? So there's the devil, I guess.
Gremlin. No.
The mind positively dwells on attraction. Somebody read this? Go around, you?
Mind positively dwells on attractions, mind negatively dwells on aversions.
So attraction and aversion are two sides of the same coin. They come and go. I like this, I don't want that. Accepting and rejecting. The mind, basically, its thinking is, in Sanskrit, it's called sankalpa, vikalpa. Accepting and rejecting. I like this, I don't like that. I want this, I don't want that. I like him, I don't like him. That's what it's doing. So how you base those different likes and dislikes, we learn, from our culture, from our parents or whatever. And then ultimately, human beings are meant to learn from scripture and learn, what can bring you back to the spiritual world. And
Mind is bound to get disturbed. Everything changes.
right. Okay.
The mind is an enemy.
Okay, let's get more people involved in reading here. Okay, even Arjuna. So if you've read the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you got to control your mind and all that. So what is Arjuna saying?
Should we read the Sanskrit?
Shanchalami mana Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye mayur eva chaduskara. Chanchala means flickering, jumping, like prostitute, one man to the next. And so he's saying the mind is like that, Arjuna, Krishna, it's always jumping. And it's very powerful. And read the translation. You? Sorry to point.
No, that's fine. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's very powerful. All powerful is described like a wild elephant, the mind. In the jungle villages, the animal is the most fearful is a wild elephant. It can just destroy a whole village. It's knock down all the houses, trample everything. No one can stop it. So, and sometimes it's controlled to like anybody ever ride horse. You put that thing in your mouth, and then you have it. And then the horse, you can, if it's a little bit trained, you can control the horse. And there are people that can take a wild horse and just by talking to it nicely, calm it down and ride it. That's, if we take shelter of Bhagavad-Gita, we can do that with our minds. Okay. 6 enemies of the mind.
6 enemies of the mind: desire,
Thank you.
anger, greed, illusion, pride, madness, envy.
Yeah, desire is lust. I want it for me. That's lust. Love is I want it for you. I want to do something for you. Lust is I want it for myself. But these are the 6 reasons. Someone else? Back there?
Perception is reality. It's not what I meant based on modes of nature.
Next?
We may know what is right, but, we may know what is right, but all problems can be traced back to an uncontrolled mind.
Okay.
What does it mean, that's not what I meant?
Well, we always think like that. You know, say something and nobody can understand it.
I see.
So this is an illusion, right? It looks like the moon is hanging from that wire. Some photographer probably waited who knows how many days to get that shot, right? How many thousands of pictures he took to get that one. But it's nice. I don't know if there's really such a rhyme in that. Okay, sound familiar?
I feel as if my life is out of control.
Just go around, okay?
I'm not doing well right now. If I don't get my grades up, I'll never get into a good college or job offers.
I'm moody, get depressed, and feel lonely often, and I don't know what to do about it.
That's really becoming common, right? I mean, that's what I've heard. You're really concerned. Loneliness is one of the most, and it's causing even physical diseases. In spite of all the connections we have on social media, people are more lonely than ever. They can't even see anybody's face anymore. Conquering the mind, all right. Good idea. Anybody can make a caption, that's what it says, make a caption. Put the program in.
If it were only that easy.
It's a little old one, because maybe you never saw it just like that. The computers,
Oh, a CD-ROM.
Huh?
A CD-ROM.
Yeah, that's how you had to put the program into your computer. Now everything is just zapped in. That's some kind of,
Matrix.
yeah, but there are, like, magicians and stuff can do that. This is, like, changing bodies. I think everybody's familiar with that, right? We can all see where we are, and maybe I'm over here, but, yeah. The soul doesn't change, the body's always changing, but we remain the same. And that's what the first lesson of the Bhagavad-Gita is. We're always changing bodies. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by the change. It's also a big thing, people freaking out because they're getting old, or because they get into puberty, because they think they're too young. And when they get old, they get all anxiety and spend millions of dollars trying to look young. Anti-aging, see ads all the time. The scientist says we're almost on the verge of stop the aging process. Not gonna happen. Even the demigods who live for hundreds of thousands of years, it's still, but they don't age. They just live and then it's over. Come back to Earth. Here we go through 6 changes. Birth, growth, hanging around for a while and deteriorating and dying. But we don't really die, only the body dies, and then we get another one.
I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah,
When you die, like some people, they get buried and they get cremated. Where does the soul exactly go when you die?
it depends. The soul leaves the body. That's what so-called death is. It's just the soul leaving the body. It's like you take your battery out of some machine and it doesn't work anymore. So you take, the soul leaves, but the soul goes to the next birth. Some go to hell, some go to heaven, some go right into another birth. It depends on your karma, on your previous activity. It's like, where do you go when you move out of your apartment? Depends on what facilities you have, money, and where you want to go. Some people are able to choose, I want to go here or there. Is that all right? So the body, if you burn it, that is actually recommended. Because sometimes the soul is still thinking, maybe I can get back, maybe we can still. So when he sees the body burn up, he knows, okay, it's gone. And he's free to move on to the next body.
I was thinking about talking to my doctor because the other day I felt like I was gonna die. Like angel death came to me 2 times.
What was it?
The angel of death.
The angel of death.
Oh, yeah?
It's like a shadow, like came up with a hoodie and an axe.
Oh,
He
no.
was dressed up all in black. But I couldn't see his face. It was just all dark.
Yeah, that's,
Intense.
Angel
Wow.
of death. Scary.
if you are chanting Hare Krishna, then Krishna will come.
That's the problem. I'm not chanting this
It'll be
much.
better. Alright. So Bhagavad-Gita 635. Krishna prescribes Samshayam Mahabaho Dunigraham Shalam Abhyasena Tukunteya Vairagena Chagriyate. You can read that?
Yeah. Lord Sri Krishna said, "O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by
Detachment.
detachment."
So Krishna doesn't argue. He says, yeah, it is difficult to control. But it can be done if you do it right. And the Bhagavad Gita will teach us. Okay, coming to the conclusion. Mantra meditation. Everybody?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Man means mind, and tra means deliverance or freedom. So, someone asked me, well, what is the difference and why is your method better? I hadn't said it was better, but so it is the easiest type of meditation. Just chant Hare Krishna, one mantra. Because a lot of people say, I meditate. Say, what do you meditate? Well, I just think about, what I'm going to do today and what I did yesterday. But at least it's sitting down in one place, and if we can become detached from it, good. But this mantra, and also it's quite a disturbing world nowadays. So by having some sound vibration, we can focus much better. And that's it. So it's very simple, Bhagavad Gita. This is all from chapter 6. And it's a very good chapter to read, We find that word Atma so many times. Atma means the self, but it can mean the body or the mind or the soul. It's like when people ask me, how are you? I say, well, what do you mean? The body or the mind or the soul? The soul is always good. No problem. The mind and body are also described. The mind is always changing, flickering and unsteady, full of disturbances, full of bad memories, full of anxiety about something in the future. So, and the body is you know, sometimes giving us great pleasure, sometimes pain. It's not something that you want to identify with.
Temporary.
Right? Because if you examine it, the ingredients are not all attractive, and it's not you. Prabhupada once he went to some school and he asked for a boy that was intelligent, and he was asking him, "What is this? What's this?
My knee,
What's this?
my arm,
What's that?
my head.
Okay, and who are you? Where are you?" They would think, what a stupid questions, anybody can answer that. But then, who is the my? Who is the I who possesses all these things? You're not just a combination of all those things. There's that one motivational speaker now, he was born, he has no arms and no legs. But he's got a big head and he's all happy and alive and functioning. Got married, you know. He's not, you know, you can live without your arms and legs. It's not the most desirable condition, but it's possible.
Why do you think the body is so like beautifully made? If it's just also just a vessel, if it's just a vessel, like getting into one car and out into the other
machine.
Right. Why do you think it's so intricately like one of the best chemistry labs? Or on a side note, Chinese pressure points, or you know, why is, if it's not to be so identified with, why is it so cool? Like a flower or a sacred geometry.
Yeah, every type of body, you know, all the, like a flower body or a dog body, they're all unbelievable. That's how Krishna made them, so that it could carry the soul, and we could, you know, do all these things. So it's hard to say exactly why every little thing. So that's what. In order for we're in it. The mind is the subtle body, and that designs the gross body. But it's you know, they talk about miracles. They said, "You believe in miracles?" Yeah, every body is a miracle. It's unbelievable, you know. And it can start out with nothing and grow and be so complex. But it's temporary. But then all these different things can function, so that if we get trained properly, we can utilize this body to get us out from the body to a better condition. Demigods have much better body. In the spiritual world, the bodies are all spiritual. That's hard to understand. The soul is a body, it has a form, spiritual. And then this body is like built on top of it.
So, but the human just picking and prodding,
Huh?
like the human, how we pick and prod and like dissect and to understand, is that just lust? Like how greatest scientists would turn back and do all these experiments because they realize, wow, this is such a cool mechanism. That's only one ideology that probably doesn't skim the surface of the totality of what a human experience is, right?
No.
People just get caught up in the lust of being like, oh wow, this works this way. And
yeah, it's also part of Maya to bewilder us. All this complicated stuff, you know. Something like that, right?
Yeah, like the human body is the body that can ask the questions. The dog's not asking like why am I a dog? What am I composed of? Just like, what's there to eat? Where's there to sleep? I gotta bark at that guy, he's gonna like mess up my eating and my sleeping. So there's one, I mean, humans can ask all kinds of different questions, and so that poking and prodding is also part of that. But like Mara was just saying, ultimately you can get distracted by those questions and not really get any clear answers, and then the whole life is wasted. Then that's rather unfortunate.
And also, as I asked the question, it's kind of how he started off the topic, which was like, not to ask why, but to enjoy it, or to like, just something, how you said in the beginning here. And, you know, maybe that's why it's less. Also another question, when it's talking about controlling the mind, more reign of the senses, more. How similar or dissimilar is that process with surrendering, letting go those desires or calculations or whatever?
It goes together.
It's a symbiotic one.
Yeah. Surrendering means you control it according to Krishna's direction. Surrender to Krishna or whoever you surrender to.
So it's those are both. Those are like.
Yeah, it goes together. But surrender to Krishna doesn't mean, okay, he puts you in prison and then you just sit there and you feed. That it means you take the guidance. When Krishna says it, it means take shelter. So Krishna says, use your mind this way. Think about me. Think of this. Think of that. So you do that.
Is that controlling the mind?
Yeah,
Is
then
it
you control the mind.
So
Use it.
elevating the intelligence towards.
Use it. Direct the mind to think about and not think about, like we do that. Like maybe you're mostly vegetarian. You first become vegetarian, but you used to eat meat, and you go by the meat shop and and then you say, no, I don't want that. It's not good for me. I don't want to smoke. It's not good for me. I won't steal that. Not good for you learn what will be beneficial and what will not be beneficial.
Thank you.
And then we can control the anger.
You asked, you know how she was asking how when you die, where does your soul go?
Yeah.
And you explained that it either takes form of another body,
Mm.
or it either goes to heaven or hell. But I got a little confused when you said that, just because I thought that like Hare Krishnas don't believe in like heaven or hell. I thought that there is other higher planets and there's like other lower planets, but there's not like an immediate heaven or an immediate hell.
But there's not the hell like
the Christian
a
Catholic
permanent hell.
hell. Oh, it's not a permanent hell
No,
like
there is
other
hell.
other religions think it's a permanent hell.
Yeah.
It's a hell that you could possibly get out of.
That's the hell is like there's very vivid descriptions in Vedas and in Buddhist scriptures also. But it's just to condition you to accept the next body that you're going to have to take. And it's actually a very short time, but when the soul is in hell and it's all suffering, seems like there's never been anything else and there never will be any.
Yeah, okay. Like right now, we feel like there's gonna be nothing else possibly,
Yeah.
Some people.
So there's hellish conditions on earth, there's some seemingly heavenly conditions. And there's the higher planets, there's heavenly planets where, people don't suffer, and there's no old age, but it's still temporary. They don't think of that, they're just enjoying. So those are also not conducive for spiritual advancement because they think, well, everything's fine. They don't get any impetus. In hell, you're suffering too much. But there's no this, it's all over. You only live once and then you go to hell or you go to heaven. So give your donation right now and I'll bless you. Right? That's not the case.
I have a question regarding that as well.
Huh?
I have a question regarding that, but on the other polarity of let's say you did live the life that you were supposed to, like you lived, I don't even know what that necessarily means, but let's say that you did live a life that was according to Krishna, you wouldn't have to keep coming back. Would you then be reincarnated as well? Like if you weren't attached to anything
It depends on
here.
how much, what your desires are at the time of death.
But if you're not, but can someone, because that would be like the ultimate success for me. Like, can someone succeed in that level of they don't desire anything, they're not attached to anything, so they don't come back here?
Yeah, well, they want to go to Krishna. You have to be desiring something. So I said, you can't just become a nothing. So you're going to go somewhere. But there's a spiritual world, and that's the, kingdom of God, which the Bible talks about, or the Buddha land they have in Buddhism, where then you don't come back. You think of it, everything is now, everything is anyone can achieve that if you want to take to the process. Then we can control our anger. But anger management now is they have anger management schools, right? But anger comes from what? Anybody remember Bhagavad-Gita?
I'm repressed. None.
Unsatisfied desires.
Lust. Yeah. Yes.
I think anger comes from like being impatient.
Yeah.
Like
Well, that's a symptom of,
the
lust.
symptoms, not being able to control your emotions.
Yeah.
You just
You don't get what you want,
burst
so
out,
you get angry.
like an outburst,
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you just try to manage your anger without managing the cause of the anger, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
That's why they're not succeeding. And anger, so some people that get angry, they may get angry at themselves and even kill themselves. Others will kill somebody else. If somebody's a very big king, he may start a war and, make all kinds of trouble. So to control anger, you need to control lust. I don't need anger management. I'm not angry! Who told you I was angry? You ever heard that? Or ever said that? Sorry I made you angry. I'm not angry! Who said that? I'll kill him. There's a bunch of bent golf clubs, he says. So this is another class, So Krishna says, in the beginning you have to stop this lust, because lust is the cause of all the trouble. All the anger, envy, greed, everything comes from that. Any other comment, question? Yes.
About the, like, cause you're talking about lust. On the screen when the questions came up, does this sound familiar? And then the last question was talking about like feeling depressed and feeling lonely sometimes. Cause you know how sometimes people feel like that, they have a lot of friends, family, but then they feel like that, and let's say like you chant Hare Krishna and all of that, but then why is it that as humans always have like the desire to share our lives with like somebody else, like always looking for love and stuff like that? Because you feel good about your life and everything, you're happy with everything, but for some reason you're so happy with your life that you wish you could share it with somebody else.
That's good. That's called compassion. You want everyone to be happy.
So is the only person I should share my life with like Krishna? Like should I feel like, no,
Yeah.
I don't need to share my life with somebody else, I don't need a partner, I don't need to be with somebody?
No, it's natural. The Krishna has arranged all that. In the spiritual world, everybody is sharing everything with everybody, but they're sharing how much they love Krishna and how much they want to work together. It's like if you get someone you love, you're working together, for some purpose, right? So ultimately it's for Krishna, but then for Krishna it's for everybody, because everything is connected to Krishna. So that's natural. We want to be loved, we want to give love. Problem nowadays is many people, they want to be loved, but they don't want to give love. If everybody's like that, you have a problem. Right? This one.
I might be going to India in June with a friend of mine from this temple, with a female friend. What do you recommend for me when I go to India? What do you recommend places that I can go to visit?
Well, the main places is the place of Krishna's life in Vrindavan, and Lord Chaitanya's life in Mayapur. Usually recommend to go to Mayapur first because Lord Chaitanya is very special, merciful.
Mayapur?
Huh?
Mayapur?
Mayapur, yeah, that's Lord Chaitanya's birthplace and where he grew up. That's in Bengal.
West Bengal?
West Bengal.
Yeah,
It's near Calcutta.
Calcutta.
I forgot, someone here told me too that there's like farms there, cause cows are so sacred, so you
Yeah.
can go and volunteer and help like, cows, like take care of cows in India. I know
That's
that's
nice.
something.
Yeah, there's, everything is in, yeah, there is a lot of those kind of places. It's just a fascinating place to see, you know, in many ways. First time I went, I thought, this can't be real.
Do you necessarily gotta get baptized in the temples, in the river water that we have, the water, the river? Do you necessarily?
I couldn't hear because,
She said you had to get baptized in the river Ganges. That's a good idea, right?
well, yeah, you should take baths in the Ganges.
Like splash water, like, I'm scared to go
You
too
can go
deep
in,
and drown.
go in all
I'm
the way.
scared of that.
Actually, one of my godbrothers, his mother, she took a bath in the Ganges, but she didn't go all the way down.
Yeah.
And then she got brain cancer, and she said herself, that's because I didn't put it all. And she wanted her ashes put there, and the two rivers come together.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
How can we heal our heart wholly in order to reciprocate love? Like, what are ways to
Well, it has to get purified, so you just chant Hare Krishna and pray. You know, don't try for, you try for different things, but if we really chant like fully, focused, it all comes. So that's what we should really be trying for. Instead of trying for a specific thing that we're thinking of that might be good, Krishna will give us what's the best for us. Now, you've been waiting, I tried your time.
It's about love, what you mentioned about loving. I myself recently, because I'm Christian, and they always encourage us that to read 1 Corinthians 13 to help us, as you say, cleanse your heart for love. And I find that it's very rewarding once you're being consistent, but you also have to have discipline, because based on my experience, I noticed that by doing that, as you mentioned, anger, it's like anger starts surfing, anger, unforgiveness, and everything you can think about, that opposite love starts coming up. And it's like, I find that it's a way for me to cleanse my heart, and also to be quick to forgive, which is very, very, very challenging. Quick to forgive and be kind. And they keep saying you have to be kind to the person who hurt you, because that's what Christ did. And I was like, oh my. One of the most
That's
challenging
what we read
things.
here also.
I beg your
He
pardon?
was just reading that on
And one verse said, enemies, friends.
Yes,
You know.
it's like, so I've been doing that, and I'm like, I said, how Jesus did it, because people, we are not perfect, and we all did things, I did things too, and I had to learn to forgive myself, that part of the process. But I find that, I think it becomes difficult for us to forgive, because we're not forgiving ourselves for our action. And I find that we block our heart to really represent God in the way He needs us to represent. Right? And so what I started doing is really focusing on God. Like when someone hurt me, I started looking for God in them. And even that was even challenging.
That's especially the challenge.
Yeah, even that was like, God don't do stuff like that. Where is God? But it's in spite of all that, it's a good experience. It's a really good experience. I just want to be being transparent, honest about it, and say, God, please help me. There's a prayer I tend to say, Lord, help me to walk through my fears. I'm ready to walk through my fears.
Good.
Help me to understand what's going on. Alter my perception. Help me not to see things in my way, but help me to see it your way. You know, stuff like that. And they're like, oh, okay. You know, most of the time it's our perception of a situation. That's why he said, lean not on our own understanding.
Yeah, that's why we say just, when you chant Hare Krishna, you're calling out, God, please help me. You know?
Yes.
I need you, I don't, I'm just trying for so many things. And he's there. And Bhagavad-Gita says also, the saintly person, they see everyone equally, a dog eater, different kinds of Brahmin and saintly. Not that they, like I said, you don't see them exactly, there's no difference, but that God is in everyone's heart. And he's in our own heart also. So we have to be careful also, like you said. We have to, if we're going to forgive others, we have to forgive ourselves first. Otherwise, we just beat ourselves up, and many of us are doing that these days. Kind of conditioned like that. Are taught that God is just waiting to punish you for whatever mistake you made. No, he's your friend. He's your best friend, and he wants to help you. He's just waiting for you to turn to him.
I think so. Sorry. As a Christian, I can see that is one of the biggest problems that is happening in the Christian congregation, because we've been projected on us so many times that if you do this, God don't love you, God don't this, God that, and I had to literally pull myself out by asking God to help me. I said, God, you cannot be a God that destroy and hurt, and help me to understand who
Put
you
someone
are.
in hell forever.
Yeah, put me to hell
Your
forever.
loving Father just throws you
Yeah, I
into
said,
the
use my God.
blazing pits of hell. It's not. Doesn't sound like a very That's why so many people have become atheists. You hear all that. Well, who wants that?
This reminds me of a story that Kavicandra Swami told me when I took initiation. There was a guy hanging from a roof, and he was saying like, "Oh God, save me, help me," and God was saying, "Just let go."
Huh?
Just let go.
Oh,
Yeah. And so it kept going back and forth. Like the guy just kept like asking for help, and God just kept saying, "Just let go."
Let go of what is it?
Hanging from a roof.
Hanging from a roof, like in a seemingly dangerous or stressful situation. But all he had to do was just drop it.
There's another one where the guy is drowning. So a boat comes and says, "Get in the boat." No, God will save me. I'm praying God will save me. And the boat goes away, then another boat comes. Then he says the same thing again. And then another one comes. Again he rejects. Or maybe helicopter or something, And then he goes and he gets to the gates of heaven, and God, why didn't you save me? He said, well, I sent 3 boats. He didn't take advantage of it.
That's why I was wondering about surrendering.
Yeah.
To that situation, just be like, well, maybe this is God coming up to me. Versus me thinking, oh no, if I take the next train and controlling the mind of the situation.
Yeah, surrender, it means in Sanskrit, sharanam, it means like take shelter. Cooperate. So that's why we have scripture. God tells you what he wants you to do. Like Jesus said, "What, love your enemy?" That anyone can love their friends. That's not hard. Love your enemy, that's a real challenge. But you shouldn't wish good for the enemies. You wish good for everybody. Okay? Anyone else? Or should we jump?
I got one.
Okay.
So anger comes from lust, right?
Yeah.
Only from lust?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
Unfulfilled desires. You don't get what you want and you become angry. But desire is lust. Material
Okay.
desires.
Okay.
We need spiritual desires, and I want to serve God. I want to be with Krishna. I want to love everybody. Instead of I want this car, I want this dress, I want this, I want that. I want what he has, but it turns to envy. So it can happen very, very quickly. I was just, if you give me 1 second, maybe I can find that.
You might want to unplug it, now you're on.
Huh?
You might want to unplug your laptop, now you're on the big screen mode where everything's real small.
Oh, what do I have to do?
Just unplug it.
Oh no,
Unplug this?
just click any of the Windows 4.
I'm sorry, what's the definition of lust for you guys? Because I keep thinking, I feel like I have my own.
Sanskrit is kama.
That's what?
Sanskrit is kama.
That's fine.
Oh, did you want to put it up there?
Well, no, yeah,
And it means,
karma means to, yeah.
Like Kama Sutra?
Yeah, that's one kind of lust.
But like Kama K-A-M-A.
Because when I think about lust, I think about like sexual desires kind
that's
of
like
lust.
the ultimate in this world, but it could be anything. And that's it all lust or desires based off of that one.
Based off
So like you want sex, therefore you need a partner, therefore you need a place to bring the partner, therefore you need money, therefore you need to get a job, therefore this, so many, it all comes from that.
Wasn't Freud that talked about like,
Yeah,
or
he-
one of the scientists,
Yeah, he like revolutionized
desires
psychology.
stem from either fear
Oh,
or
yeah,
no,
Sigmund Freud.
whatever. The point was it's either
Yeah, he
lust
made a
or
good realization.
anger, sex or
Yeah, because he
Well,
was
it's basically lust, and then you this main desire, one of these secondary desires, you don't get it, therefore you get frustrated, and so many things happen, anger, and that can ruin so many things, or like madness or pride, or so many things that it leads into.
would you say that these desires are part of our suffering for the karma?
Yeah.
It is? And then isn't the solution to transcend those desires?
Yeah, like, that's why, like Buddhists will say no desires. We also say that, but it means when the Vedas say no desire, it means no material desire, lusty desire.
Right, not to take it so literally.
Spiritual desires. Not that you want to become zero, nothing, you
Right.
just not exist. And
You wanna breathe, you still
never
wanna
think,
eat.
you know.
Put this one on the screen.
How do you put it?
I do it from my laptop, it's just a YouTube.
But Tulsi
You
spoke
can-
about recently, that like you can't escape your suffering. Like if, let's say it's an equation, you have 30% suffering you're gonna have to endure. There's no way out of that, right? Or can you transcend that?
Well, it depends. The suffering, like they say, pain is, you can't avoid it. Suffering is voluntary. Suffering is a state of mind, how you look at it. You know, someone can, it's no problem. It's just on YouTube, it's just Prabhupada 1 minute. So,
Alright, here it is.
you got it?
We have been here for many lifetimes performing sinful activities. Was it possible to counteract all those sinful activities in one lifetime, or does it require many?
1 minute. That is Krishna consciousness movement. 1 minute. You are not reading Bhagavad-Gita? What Krishna says? Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam braja om ta sarva papebhya mokshayami. You surrender unto me, give up your all business. I will give you relief from all sinful reactions immediately. It take us 1 minute. My dear Krishna, I was forgotten, now I understand, I fully surrender to you. Then you will become immediately free from all sin. Without any reservation, without any politics. If you fully surrender, Krishna is assuring, Tam tva sarva papi, homokhoisani, masucho. He reassures. Don't worry whether I will be able to give you relief from all rejection. Masucho. It is guaranteed. You do this. So, surrender to Krishna. Immediately you can do that.
Or it can
Surrender means you surrender and what? As Krishna says. That is surrender. What Krishna said to do. Manmana bhavavan bhakta madhyajimam namaskuru. 4 things. You always think of me, and you become my devotee, you worship me, and offer your respect, full obeisances, and you do these 4 things. That is full surrender. Mami Vaishyasi, asamsa. Then you come to me without doubt. Everything is there. Krishna has given everything fully. If you accept it, then life is very simple. There is no difficulty.
Yeah. Or it can take millions of lifetimes. If you're trying to do it on your own. But that's why we have a process, you know, okay, you practice some discipline in your life. Just like anything, you discipline and you step by step you work your way towards it, because it's very rare a person can just instantly give up all the dirt in the heart. So like, when we say chanting also, it's cleaning the heart, so a lot of things come up like, where did that come from, you know, some people panic. And they're praying and clean my heart, and you get a look about what's in there, you know, it's not so nice. But don't worry, it's not you. The soul is pure. Soul japa, meditation. Do you have beads?
Beads.
You've all done that before? Or no?
Yeah.
Mantra meditation. We use beads because they help you focus and keep track. One time a Christian professor, he brought some students to the temple. And he said, I want you to tell them what's different about your religion than ours. And I said, well, it's not really that different. He said, well, you use beads. Yes. I said, well, the Roman Catholics use beads, Buddhists use beads, Greek Orthodox, they all use beads. Went on and on like that. And that's been a problem, which is, I think, getting better. They don't, comparative religion, they always just teach all the differences. Same thing between countries, between cultures. Let's study all the differences, and that way we know we can't get along. We should look for the okay? Anthony, you want to explain about how to chant?
No, you're the master.
Huh?
I'm still learning how to.
No, but you know. Anyway, everybody,
Huh? No, I'm still learning. I don't know.
how do we do it? Is it slow?
Don't be shy.
Huh?
Okay, so well, you find like there's one with kind of like hair hanging out. It's called the head bead. Some cloth hanging out. So you go to a bead right next to it, and so there's 108 beads, and generally people do all the way around. So it's called one round if you do 108, and each bead will get one prayer. So basically, you grab the bead with your middle finger and your thumb. That's like the main way you do it. And while you're touching one bead, you say one Maha Mantra. So it'll be like this: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you can, once you start chanting, you can chant at a faster pace or a slower pace, whatever you're feeling. It's okay. And then when you're done with the first mantra, then you just grab the next one, and you're on to the next one. And so I think we all do it together now at a kind of slower pace, or maybe like 10 or 20 mantras just to get an idea of it. And of course, these beads, we want everyone to chant, everyone to make spiritual advancement and become happy and serve Krishna and reestablish their lost relationship with Krishna. So we want everyone to have beads. So if you'd like, please take it home and start your spirit. You know, you can make a daily spiritual practice out of chanting. You can just chant one mantra or chant one round. You know, or you can chant 16 rounds or 64 rounds as you have the time for and the enthusiasm.
196 rounds.
Yeah, you can chant as many rounds as you have time for when you're going to school or work and you're on the train, or you know, before you go to bed, when you wake up. Anytime is good for chanting. And so
I've done 60 rounds like 3 times.
how was it? How did you feel?
It's not easy, but it's
But
you
after-
get used to it.
And the more you chant, the more you start clearing these things out of your heart, the more you feel the purification of the mantra, the more you get closer to Krishna because you're spending your time with him.
I've done it 3 times.
Okay,
I
so
felt the
we'll go through
difference.
maybe like about 10 or 15 times, okay? So Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right, you can keep going. But now is the next part of the program.
I can chant, you know, slow or fast, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
clear.
About that pace would maybe take about 10 to 15 minutes per round. So you chant one round, that's just 10 minutes a day. I'm sure everyone has 10 minutes in their day to start daily spiritual practice to try to help defeat these enemies of the mind that Maharaj was talking about today. And now we can also take spiritualized foodstuffs. We take that. We should have a little kirtan?
Yeah.
All right, we'll have a little kirtan.
Standing up though.
Standing up, energetic, and it'll get us nice and hungry for the delicious meal that Matanga Prabhu has prepared for us. So if everyone could please rise and take the chairs to the side. And Nate, give him the double.
You can keep them and then you can practice.
So I know people,
Yeah.
That's the idea.
We have some
You should hold it this out. Audio. Not much. It's the book and audio. Is it any audio?
Yeah.
Where do you find it?
Or does it continue?
I don't know. I've seen it before, it continued. Could only see feed.
It'll maybe be hard to find on the internet. There's probably on YouTube.
What? What?
An audio of reading, someone reading Bhagavad-Gita.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look up Amala Bhakta. Amala Bhakta.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
So we'll have a nice feast, and then we have to, at 9:30, we'll start the cleanup, so it goes down, so. But you're more than welcome to sit down, ask the devotees as many questions as you want.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
take as much prashadam as you like.
Pick out whoever you'd like to ask.
George briefs it.
George
is there mix it, man.
Thank you.
Angel.
Angel. Krishna, Krishna, Christos, Christ. And linguistically, that's how it comes down.
You don't understand it.
No, in language, Krishna is very ancient. Greek was Christo, and Christ, and different languages, same.
I have a question. I can use this to do with my language prayers.
Yeah. Anything like that. Any prayer just to help you concentrate. Also, like, instead of thinking 1 hour or 2 hours, so many times, so many beads, count on keeping some, helping you concentrate on something. That's why monks always have beads in Christianity and Buddhism. Muslims have beads.
So I guess it's better. Something that's also weird is hanging out. You know what I mean? Imagine it's like that, but like, do as you wish. Do as you wish.
I thought I was gonna sit on the ground, but I changed.
see.
How's your birthday next Tuesday?
Yeah, I always do like a brunch, or like I go to the club, but I told them this year I just want like lessons. So let's see what comes. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Those are Hare Krishna, Rodney. Those are nice presentations, Maharaj.
Yeah, I thought I had more, but that's only two that